I'm Justin.
I'm Laura.
And we are Built to Drink.
Built to Drink is a show where we teach you how to make the best cocktail.
And whether that's looking at different liquors, different liqueurs, different other additives, we're all about finding the best combination of the right ingredients to make the best build for you.
And today we're going to be building a seasonal variety of a sangria. We're going to make a apple cider sangria.
And so Laura, this is really your brainchild. Amongst our circle of friends, I'm pretty sure you have the reputation for making the best sangria far and away, no matter what the situation is. This is all you.
Yes, although this is my recipe, I can't take all of the credit. I did have a lot of tasters helping me out to create the best build for this specific recipe.
Yeah, so we have what we call our R&D days, where basically we just have a bunch of friends over and we're drinking all day. But
we're doing research.
We're doing absolute research, and for this one, it's actually a pretty exciting opportunity because not only were we able to come away with not just one different version of the sangria, but actually two.
Yeah, so this is exciting because I typically only make this apple cider sangria with a white wine, but today we're actually building a white and a red variety, so I'm pretty excited about that.
So we have a double feature for you today. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with the white sangria version first. And so as per our usual process, we're going to run through everything. So we're going to talk about the different wines that we looked at, the different liqueurs, again, the other things that we're going to add, build that for you guys, and then we're going to bring in the ingredients for the red because they actually are different. It's not just the wine that we changed. So with that said, we're going to clear the table and get started. You ready?
Ready.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
All right, so here we have our white wines, and we have 2 Sauvignon Blancs and 2 Rieslings that we tried individually and with the sangria. So we have the Sauvignon Blanc, the Saban Estate, we have our Tribute Sauvignon Blanc, and then we have 2 Rieslings, both from Chateau Saint Michel. And one is a dry and one is a semi-sweet Riesling. We tried the Saban. It was nice, but a little bit flat in terms of flavor profile. Nothing really jumped out at you. Very drinkable, smooth, and nice. But nothing really said this is the one for the drink. The Tribute, we actually really liked. It had a brighter profile. It shined through with some sour notes, which were really good. The dry Riesling was probably my favorite wine, but it was also very smooth. Nothing really jumped out. And then we did have the regular Riesling that was a semi-sweet, and that was just a little bit too sweet for this drink because the other elements are already pretty sweet. So we wanted something that would help to balance it out. So ultimately we went with the Tribute Sauvignon Blanc, and that was it paired really nicely with being a little bit sour, balancing the sweetness of the apple cider, and that was the one that we chose.
Yeah, and we definitely want to acknowledge that based on where you live, you might have a completely different variety of wines at your disposal. And so ultimately just really focus more so on the flavor profile. So based on the other things that we're going to show you that end up in this build, we really found that this kind of brighter, tartar kind of, white wine really shone, over the different things that are going into the build. So find whatever you can. If you can find the Tribute, perfect. We highly recommend this one for this particular sangria. But we have full faith that you'll be able to find something at your local winery or whatever, wherever you can get your wines from. So with that said, we're going to move into those other parts. And so as mentioned, that there are a few other different ingredients for the drink. There's a few different liqueurs that we want to go through. And so we're just going to clear the table and move into those now. Ready?
Sounds great.
All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, and so now this is going to be part 1 of the other parts, part and we have all of our brandies, and these are all apple flavored brandies. And so I'm actually going to pass it over to you, just because again, this being your recipe, you really know all of these pieces best.
Yeah, so the ones that we tried were the Christian Brothers, E&J, and the Applejack. The E&J I'm very familiar with. That's what I've used multiple times, but I did want to try some other builds.
As you can tell from the volume in the bottle.
Yes, we have used this many of times. We did want to try the Christian Brothers and just see what does that do for the drink. Ultimately, it was a little bit too sweet. It was kind of like a college drink, very candy forward, not quite what we were looking for. And this Applejack was actually something new that I found, and there were many different tiers of this brand, so I figured let's give it a try. It was more cognac forward, pretty heavy, pretty boozy, very light on the apple flavor compared to the other two. And so we decided to go forward with the E&J, which I have always kind of used, but just wanted to solidify that decision.
Yeah, the Applejack I think was a fun find for all of us. And so clearly, very much as you said, just want to kind of support that. We are all about finding the different varieties. It's all about the best build. So, clearly we may have our favorites, but we are definitely committed to trying to see what else is out there and really just ultimately arrive at the best drink. This was not great.
No,
Just
would not recommend.
Just gonna say that.
Would not need to try again.
Yeah, to the point where I mentioned before that there's such a night and day difference between E&J and Christian Brothers that it's like, y'all got to do better. It's not where it's at. And then conversely, like with the Applejack, no, we don't think it's the right thing for this particular build. But as we learn, there's so many different varieties of Applejack that, if you are a huge fan of this type of liqueur, just feel free to give it a look. And there's different price brackets, and you may be able to find one that may work for you. But again, for the purpose of this, we're going to go with the E&J.
Completely agree. I do think the Applejack would be great in a different drink. I just don't think it goes best with the other elements.
Right. So with that said, we're going to finish with this part, and we're going to move on to the final other options, and that's just kind of some of the finishing touches in terms of liqueurs.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to clear the table and move on to that. 3, 2, 1.
All right, so now we have our liqueurs. We selected 4 different liqueurs that all had different types of fall elements and flavor profiles. So we started with the St. George. This is a pear liqueur. We tried it. It was really good. It is something that you can definitely sip on its own, but also tasted like it would mix well with other elements.
Yeah.
We also tried a ginger liqueur. So the ginger liqueur was pretty good, but definitely spicy on the back end, a little bit stronger than what we were looking for. And there is already a ginger element in the recipe, so we thought it would be too ginger heavy to go with that option. We did try this cinnamon liqueur. It was good, but it also had an orange flavor that I felt like might have been too many elements. And the cinnamon was a little like big red almost, so we didn't really want that to overpower the drink. And then we tried this allspice liqueur, which was a fantastic find, really surprising, really good. It was a little bit too strong for the white wine sangria, but we did select that for the red wine sangria because the red wine can kind of balance it a little bit better. For the white wine sangria, we did choose the St. George for the pear, which we thought would work really nicely with the apple, cider, and the white wine that we selected.
Yeah, so you can see the common thread is we were trying to go with like a certain kind of something, like a spiciness, a sharpness to the final mix for both, and just arrived at the spice pear liqueur and then the allspice. And well, we can probably find ways to use these another time.
Definitely.
But for the purpose of the builds, I think we're pretty set. And so next, what we're going to do is finally put together the white sangria, for which we mentioned we're going to use the spice pear liqueur. And then once we finish this, we're going to move over to the final parts that we need to make our red sangria. So let's get started. 3, 2, 1.
All right, so we are ready to start building our cocktail. We have all the ingredients here that we need. We have the white wine that we selected. We have our fruit. The fruit combination is Honeycrisp apple with pear, orange, and lemon. We have our apple cider of choice, our pear liqueur, and our apple brandy. And then we have this syrup. It's a ginger syrup, and it just adds a little bit of that extra spice flavor.
Yeah, so this really allowed us to not have to worry about a ginger liqueur or something different like that, just because this is so much more impactful on its own.
Exactly. So we can get started with building. We're gonna start with adding the fruit first.
And as you notice, like, just in case you're curious, we don't have any ice in the pitcher. And the reason that we decided to do that is just because we're about to make a large batch and we don't want it to get diluted over time. This is something you can have with companies over, you're just trying to get through your day, whatever. And the last thing you want to do is come over to a watery pitcher, of your favorite sangria.
Yep, and I do like to actually let the sangria sit for a few hours after making it. So the best sangria sits at least 3 hours after building it to help all of the flavors marinate. So I don't recommend adding ice to the pitcher itself. Instead, I just add ice to the glasses. And that at least chills it for you without diluting. So next I'm gonna add the white wine.
And I'm gonna start adding some of the other things. So I'm gonna go smaller volumes to larger, and I'm gonna do half a cup of the apple brandy. This is a weird bottle to like grab. I'm like,
it is the larger size, yeah.
I'm like, how do I hold this? So I do half of a cup here. That's gonna get dumped in.
Perfect.
And then we're gonna do a half ounce of the spiced pear liqueur. Much easier bottle to grab. E&J, something to think about. Maybe a handle. Just gonna put it out there. And then the largest last volume is the apple cider, and we're gonna do 2 ounces of that. Or 2 cups, I should say. Not 2 ounces, 2 cups. Yes. Oh no! Got it.
All right.
Yeah.
And then the last is gonna be the ginger syrup, which is gonna be a half an ounce. Which is actually the same as a tablespoon. So you could also measure it with a tablespoon. All right.
I ruined our good table.
It's all good.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna wanna stir it up, make sure that all of the elements combine. And then if you wanna start adding some ice to the glasses,
Oh, right. Yeah.
you can just stir it up right here.
Okay, it smells really good.
It does smell great. All right, that should be stirred enough. Although it did not sit for 3 hours, I do want to give this a try. So we can pour our glasses over here. Right.
And as you might imagine, we don't wait 3 hours when we do our R&D days either. So we do know how this is going to come out. All right. Ready?
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, it's really good.
So good.
It's very refreshing. It is really well balanced. The spices are coming through pretty nicely. The spices are both in the apple cider as well as the pear liqueur. So there is some really nice spices there. The ginger works really well with those cinnamon spices in those 2 ingredients. The white wine, you can definitely taste it. It is adding like a little bit of tart and bright flavor. And then the apple brandy definitely adds the boozy element. So it's kind of nice you can taste all of the ingredients separately, but that they're really working together well.
Yeah. I have opted to put this down because just as you were talking, I took more sips than I wanted to. It's really good, you guys. So really looking forward to you guys making this, letting us know what your thoughts are. But in the meantime, we have more work to do.
We do. We're gonna make a red variety.
Yeah, so not time to party just yet. So we're gonna take this off to the side, clear the table again. I'm gonna wipe this down. And then we're gonna bring in our red wines, and then we're gonna show you our thinking process for that too. Ready?
Ready.
All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, so now we have our reds here. And kind of the fun thing about this is that these all have California Napa Valley representation. And so we have our Smith & Hook. We have, this is actually, it's being produced and brought to the States from Mendoza, Argentina, but is a Cabernet Sauvignon mostly, and we'll get into that a little bit later. And then we have our Klein, and which, like I mentioned, it was also from Napa Valley. So why don't you tell us a bit more about the selection process and some of like the different tastes and ultimately what we arrived at?
Sure. So they are all Cabernets. A little biased. That is my preference with making the sangria. So I wanted to try 3 different ones and just see, you know, what price point works best, what flavor profiles work best. We started on the lower end of around $17 and worked our way up to about $25. And they did get smoother and more refined in flavor as the price point went up. The Klein was definitely my favorite wine to drink. However, I did think that it was a little too smooth for this recipe because we do have all of these strong spice flavors in the sangria. And so ultimately, we did think that the Smith & Hook was the best way to go.
Yeah.
This middle one is the Sassana Balbo, and it is mostly Cabernet. It is just 5% Malbec, and it was like very smooth because it did have that little blend, but way too smooth for the sangria. You do want something a little bit brighter, a little bit more like peppery, leathery, stronger flavors that are gonna show through.
Just complexity.
Yes, you want a little bit less like smoother, fruit flavors is kind of what we got from these two with like blackberry and more fine fruits. So we did think that the Smith & Hook worked the best for this recipe.
Yeah, and like we showed you earlier in the episode, some of the things that we're already going to be adding. So we've already selected our E&J brandy, so that's going to be in this final mix. And as we mentioned in looking at some of the other kind of final touches, we've already selected the allspice. And so with that said, we're gonna jump straight into the final mix. And so we're gonna clear the table and bring all of our final ingredients back in. Ready for that?
Yep.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
All right, so now we have our table set for our red sangria, and we have some of the same ingredients and some of them have been changed out. So the fruit is the same: apple, pear, orange, and lemon. The red wine is the wine that we selected, the Cabernet. We have the same apple cider, we have the same brandy, and the allspice liqueur. And the proportions are the same. So a half cup of the brandy, half cup liqueur, 2 cups of the apple cider. We have the same ginger syrup here with a ½ ounce or 1 tablespoon. And the full bottle of wine.
Yeah.
So we can get started.
And we're still not adding ice to this because, like we told y'all, like we try and drink.
Yes,
so,
just to the glasses.
Yeah, just appreciate it.
All right. So add our fruit first.
Okay, I will. Oh, I'll keep that actually. You want to hand me the last pack?
Measuring cup.
Yep.
We have our red wine.
And red wine is actually my personal favorite of the two. Between red and white.
Yeah, actually, Justin, you inspired this recipe for me because you were like, do you always use white wine? And I was like, I do, but maybe I don't have to.
But what if you didn't? How would that work out?
So the red variety was inspired by Justin.
Okay, I do what I can, honestly. just challenging people. Moving them forward. Growth is uncomfortable.
Change is hard.
Change is, that's a whole thing. That's a therapy session. But I think we got a really great final product out of it. So very pleased about that.
Yeah, and we found this allspice liqueur. That's like the highlight of this red wine apple cider sangria, because I was like, how are we gonna make the spices shine through? And that was like the secret ingredient.
Yeah, so maybe to like tip the hand for you all without giving too much away, we have plans for like allspice as a concept. Not gonna tell you what it's gonna go in, but come to find out, like I like allspice way more than I used to. Like I just knew of it, and now I'm just like, allspice is great. All about it. Look at me, spill free this time.
Marvelous.
This is how I learn. Not spill.
And our ½ ounce of the ginger syrup. All right, start adding some ice to our cups, and I'll give it a stir.
Can do that. Okay.
All right. And again, normally this would sit at least 3 hours. If it sits longer, it does get better. You can let it sit for up to 12 hours with the fruit in it, and it just kind of keeps getting better. Anything longer than 12 hours, you want to take the fruit out. But yeah, I would say somewhere between 6 to 12 is the happy place.
And another perfect fall sangria.
Cheers.
Cheers. And perfect is the term. Wow.
Yeah, this is really good. It is very different than the white sangria. It is a little bit more spiced. Like the allspice really comes through.
Oh yeah.
The ginger still comes through. Even though the red wine is heavier, you still get that ginger after flavor, which is nice. It's not very sweet. I think the sweetness gets balanced really well with the red wine. It's really good.
100%. So I definitely look forward to having this after this. So with that being said, I think we're gonna wrap this up because I'm really trying to enjoy this red sangria. So we have two great builds, absolutely two great builds. We very much want you guys to try this. Pick your favorite. If you have the chance to make both, absolutely make both. You know, there's lots of different holidays, get-togethers during the fall season. Halloween's coming up, you know, during our recording, and there's also Thanksgiving. If you're Friendsgiving, you're gonna have family, friends over. Absolutely have this as a dinner drink for them.
Yeah.
That they can just choose and do whatever they want.
I would say make both because they're equally good but very different. So someone's going to say one is better and someone's going to say the other one is better, but I think they're both really good, so give it a try.
You know your friends, they be fighting. So with that said, we are going to call these two great builds. And so thank you so much for watching Built to Drink. As always, please be sure to follow us on all of our socials, follow us on Instagram, follow us on YouTube. Please like, comment, subscribe. And until then, see you for the next build.
Cheers.
Cheers.